Hello YouTube viewers and welcome to my channel. What Shame Game? Well, hello everybody. Long time no see. It has been quite some time since I posted a video, but I am here today to let you guys know that I am releasing how God pretty much confirmed to me that he wanted me to move to Georgia. Today marks 1 year that I started my journey, that I lost everything when I moved out of my place back in Illinois and started, like I said, pretty much this faith journey of just kind of being in the state of homelessness. And yeah, so let's get into it. So like I said, it's been a year, so I didn't jot anything down before starting this video. I'm just kind of going cold turkey and based off memory or whatever. So October 22nd of 2023, I pretty much lost everything. I lost my place. I put all my stuff in storage and pretty much started bouncing around, right? So initially, when I moved out of my place, I had a friend slash associate who offered me and my son to come stay at her place for a couple of days, which she lived in the exact same complex that I lived in. She was actually the lady who made lunches for my son's Montessori school at the time. She owned a restaurant on the premises of the complex that I lived in. So she offered me and my son to come stay there for as long as I needed. And I was there for about 3 weeks. And then from there, I transitioned into an extended stay in the same city, same suburb. And I stayed there for about 2 months. And then I went to go stay with a family member. And I'm not going to mention who because some of the things that I'm going to share is personal to their current situation. So things that transpired while I was there, confirmations that I asked for, and how God sent the confirmations. Okay. So like I said, I moved out of my place October 22nd of 2023. Beforehand, before I moved, I was applying for different places, and I was being turned down. I applied for a complex that was actually down the street, like some more apartment homes that was down the street from where I had initially moved from. And my application was denied, but they held on to my deposit for over a month. So I had ended up paying them $500 total. That was the application and administration. I think the administration fee to hold the place. And so, yeah, they had pretty much held $500 for almost a month and a half. And so when I went to go stay with the friend, I was staying there for, like I said, 3 weeks. And so, as I stated, she offered for me to come live there. But in the end, it was very clear that she really didn't want me to be there because I could tell like she would be agitated with me being around. At this particular time, God had me in a place of rest to where I pretty much was leaning and depending on him for everything. And so at the time, I was renting an electrical vehicle, which I had been renting that vehicle for over 2 years. My truck was in the garage of my residency before I moved. And after I moved, the director of my son's school, she allowed me to park my truck on the premises of her house. And old folks, senior citizens gated community. So my car was there pretty much from October up until, I want to say, almost January. So my car was parked there. like in the end of December-ish. So I was staying with this particular friend, and so at that particular time I was like really in God's presence at that time. I was seeking him for direction and everything. I was listening to sermons daily, reading my Bible electronically, and just like staying in his presence, like I said, and just being very like childlike and humble at that time. And so God was speaking to me in different ways through numbers. He was speaking to me in dreams, which I'm a dreamer. That's one of my gifts. So he was giving me different dreams, and he was also speaking to me through YouTube, okay? And then people as well. And so I want to say around November 15th, this particular lady that I was staying with, I was helping her with her restaurant for free. Before I even moved out of my place, I was helping this lady beforehand. So God had placed it on my heart to work for her for free, because she had like her own restaurant, but it was busy. It was getting busy, but it was just her by herself, and it was busy, but she wasn't making enough revenue to hire someone, or maybe she just didn't want to hire no one because she wanted to keep all the money in her pocket. But nonetheless, I helped her at this particular time, and I was pretty much working for her for free. No matter the time, I was just there all day, helping her. And so before I had even known that I was going to have to stay with someone else, God was already planting that seed, putting it on my heart to help her out with her restaurant. And so in return, when I needed someone, she was there for me, right? So when I started going through the process of, my eviction or whatever the case may be, I was talking to her and helping her with her restaurant around that time. And so it was times where she had pretty much told me like, I'm gonna try to come up on some extra money so I can help you, and da 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 da. And I'm like, no, it's cool. Like, it's no worries. I'm not doing this for nothing in return. And so, like I stated, when I ended up moving out, she actually was one of the people that helped me move, and she paid for my storage for me. And well, her and my dad ended up paying for the storage, but she was like helping me through the process with like any money that I needed to get like boxes to pack and stuff like that. She was helping me with that. And so and then like I stated, when I moved out of my place, I had the option to go to my sister's house. She offered me to come there, but I didn't want to go. I didn't realistically want to stay with anybody for that matter. But my sister stayed in the suburbs too, but she stayed like 20 to 25 minutes away from where I was. And I didn't really want to deal with the transition, or going back and forth from her house back to the suburb to drop my son off at school. So when my friend who lived in my complex offered for me to stay with her, I just was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't think I would be here for like no more than a week. So, whatever. Because I still was believing God to open a door for me to, move into my own place. And so before I moved out of my place, being honest, I was on some finessing type of stuff, okay? So I was using a family member or cousin of mine to write up offer letters, and I was also trying to get her to do check stubs for me so that I can fraudulently make my way into another place, because I knew that where my credit was at that particular time and my proof of income, I knew that it was not going to put me in qualification for a place. So I pretty much had her bagging me up with her businesses, pretty much saying that I worked for her, and like I stated, she was making check stubs for me. And then I was trying to find fraudulent ways to make money, so that, and this was before like I fully completely surrendered myself to God. This was like before I moved out. So I was trying to do all of this like in the beginning of October. And then when I moved out of my place, I just kind of was like, okay, Lord, I get it. me trying to do it the wrong way is not working. It's not going to help the situation. And then that's when I just like finally just surrendered everything to him, and I started the journey that I'm currently on now. So one day, the lady that I was staying with, we had a disagreement in a conversation when I was at her restaurant this particular day helping her. We had a disagreement, and she just kind of like started acting like petty or whatever. So I had already, so this particular day when we got into a disagreement when I was at her restaurant helping her, I removed myself from the premises. Like, let me just like leave, because I don't want to, get into it with her, whatever. And at this time I was staying with her. So I'm like, let me just like leave and go, get a breather, because like, I don't know what she on, but I'm not finna argue with her. And so, mind y'all, I told y'all that I had applied for a place that was down the street from where I was living at, another apartment home complex, and they had held my deposit for over a month. And so this particular day that I got into it with the girl, now mind you, I've been blowing this complex down, like, where's my money at? Like, y'all been denying me for the application. My check should have been back, because I told them to send a check to their office because I didn't have no address to send it to at that time. I didn't want to send it to the lady that I was staying with house. I wanted to just get it directly from their hands. So I told them to just ship the check back to their office and I would come pick it up. So I called the lady like, so I was back and forth with them for days. Like, is it there yet? Is it shipped there? Because y'all said I was going to get my money back within 10 days. It's well over a month now. So God was interceding and holding on to that money. He was allowing things to work out the way that it was, because the day that I got into the disagreement with the friend / associate that I was staying with, that's the day I got a call from the complex. Like, I literally got a call on a Friday right before they closed. It was, like I said, November 15th or something like that. And they called me and said, hey, great news. Your check is your deposit is here. Your check is here. We know you've been calling and waiting. We are so sorry for the inconvenience. You come pick it up right now. So I rushed, because like they was like 3 minutes away. I rushed down the street, go pick it up. And so from that point on, it was like after 5. So the currency exchange out there closed at 6. So like I just like went to go cash the check. Like I just felt this nudge, like just go cash it. So I went to go cash it right away. And so after I cashed it, like I was already feeling uneased with the conversation that I had with the lady that I was staying with. So my son ended up getting out of school, out of aftercare. I went to go pick him up, and then I went back to her restaurant. So my son was sitting in the lobby. Again, this is in my old complex that I lived in. So he was sitting in like the lobby where the mailboxes and stuff, and said his tables out there for her restaurant that she has on the premises. So my son was just sitting there like, drawing and doing homework from his bed. And so she was being petty. Like I could just see the pettiness like coming out her pores. Like she was being petty after that. So I just was like, I'm finna just go back to the house. So I went back to her house, which was right across the street. And so when she ended up getting off of work, that's when like things got real like hectic. So she came home and she just started picking with my son, like, saying that he had put some on her carpet. So pretty much just nitpicking with me, right? So now bag up. God had put this extended stay place in my path when I was looking for apartments, right? And applying for apartments before I even moved out of my place. I had seen this extended stay place, and it said that it was studios. I thought it was a complex, but then when I looked into it, I said, oh, this is a Wood Spring Suites. I said, I ain't going to stay in no hotel, you know what I'm saying? But I took a screenshot of the place because they had a special going on at that time for $199 a week. So God had brought that place back up to my remembrance. So after she said whatever she said to my son, I'm like, I told my baby, like, come sit down. Don't go nowhere near her room. And that's when I started just like kind of, so earlier that day, God had put that place on my heart. And so I had went to go do a tour for the place, right? And I went to go look at the hotel or the motel, and then it was actually nice. Like, it exceeded my expectations. It was brand new. It was like 7 years old, but they didn't have like nasty carpet like some extended stays have. It was hardwood floor, and it was like fairly new looking extended stay. Like, it was actually a nice place. And so I'm like, dang, Lord, I was frowning my nose up, and this place is actually decent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Had the little stove top with the two owls, you know, the little hot plate type of situation, refrigerator, a full refrigerator. And yeah, so I ended up telling the man to hold the room for me, that I was gonna like move into it that weekend. But God had already told me, like, when I went to go look at it, to move in there like, you know, the next day or so. And so or no, the same day, I'm sorry. Whatever day I went to go look, God told me to do it then. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know, nah, you know, I'm gonna just give it a little bit more time and stay here, you know, for as long as I can. But when she pretty much tried to nitpick with my son, and like she tried to discipline him with her words, I said, oh no, it's time to go, because we gonna fight now, because my son ain't even do nothing, and you, like I said, trying to be petty. You coming at him how you really want to come at me. So I ended up removing myself. And so from that point, I just started packing up all my food. So I asked her, I went in her room, and I was just like, do you want me to leave anything here? And she was like, what you mean? I said, do you need anything? Because I'm about to go. And she's like, where you going? I'm like, I'm not going to go back and forth with you, but we about to leave. So she told me she didn't need nothing. I packed up everything. I had gave her some money, even though she didn't ask for none. But at this point, I just felt, like I said, I felt unwelcome. And I just was like, let me give you a little something at least. Because I hadn't been, like I said, I was in a place of rest. So I wasn't doing Instacart. I wasn't doing Uber or nothing. And so when I got that money back for the application for the $500, I had just gave her some of that money. It was just like, here, you know what I'm saying? I know it ain't much, but here, I think I gave her like $100 or whatever. And then I ended up leaving. And so she texted me this long message or whatever, pretty much asking why did I leave the key on the counter, and am I not coming back, and what's going on. And I was just like, I appreciate. So I sent her a message because I didn't want to combat with her. I didn't want to argue with her. And like I said, at this point in time, I was really like trying to be at peace and be better, a better person. I was trying to stray away from any type of, you know, negativity or whatever like that, because I was like newly in this walk with God. Like I was like, you know, trying to renew myself in him and, you know, change my ways and things like that. And so I was just like, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a blessing to me in the time that you were. But my time is up here. And so she sent me this long message pretty much trying to argue. And I was just like, pretty much what I just said. Thank you so much for the opportunity. There's no hard feelings, no love lost. I will still come help you with your restaurant, which I did after that. I still was going up there helping her for free. Wasn't asking her for nothing. Because genuinely, I just wanted to help her. I wanted to see her prosper. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I knew that she was struggling. She had business, but she didn't have business to the point where she could pay for the space, pay her rent, and pay someone. So I just was trying to, you know, I was trying to serve in a way. I was serving in a way. You know what I'm saying? And also just trying to teach her, because even the people that she did hire, because she did have a person that came in on the weekends sometimes, but she would always complain about how she really didn't make no money to pay them. So she could have did it herself and blah, blah, blah. So I just was trying to show her how to come from a place of selflessness and not selfishness, because she did have a selfishness about her. And so I was just trying to show her just how to be selfish and just don't worry about what the situation looks like, because, you know, thinking that you can make yourself rich and not including God in anything ain't gonna get you nowhere anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to see God in everything that you do and trust that he's going to provide. Because if you're thinking that you have anything to do with it, you're going to forever be frustrated. You just got to have a humbleness and a peace and just like I don't want to say contentment, but what word am I looking for? You just got to be grateful, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we as people, we could be so greedy, you know what I'm saying? And we have these expectations sometimes that, not saying that it's not realistic, because God can do all things. He can exalt you in anything. But I'm just saying, without God, and feeling like you're in control of everything, it's gonna forever be a disappointment. You just gotta take your hand out of things. Take your hands out of things sometimes and allow God to do what it is that He knows to do. He knows what's best for you. And everything is seasonal in this life. You know what I'm saying? So, I ended up leaving, and I went to the hotel with an extended stay. And so from there, I was able to get more into God's presence. So when I was at her house, of course, when you're staying with someone, I was sleeping on the couch too, so that was very uncomfortable. I was grateful, but I really wasn't comfortable to the point where I can really bask in His presence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have that privacy. It's not like I was in a room with a door or nothing like that. And so I kept feeling the unction to get a journal, and I didn't want to get a journal because my stuff was kind of out in the open, and I know she was like going through my stuff when I was gone or whatever the case. So I didn't feel comfortable to get a journal in that particular place and just have it kind of laying around or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or even if I had it put up, like I said, I don't know if she was going through my stuff or whatever. I don't know. I trust that she wasn't, but I just didn't feel like I had that privacy to really get that. I was intimate with God, for sure, but most times when she would leave, I would do that. But I just wanted it all the time, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to put a cap on it or a certain time on it because she was around. So when I ended up getting to the motel, I went and bought a journal, I went and bought highlighters, and then I started writing intentionally, like every day, right? And so I'm talking to God every day. I was writing entries, and at the end of each entry, I would write a scripture. And so around the time that I first got my journal, when I was in the hotel, I did a 3-day fast. And I did a 3-day fast with no food and no water. Okay. On the second day, it became unbearable, and I asked God if I can have a drink, and He told me I could. So I had like a little sip of water, and then I prayed for God to give me spiritual food and just to feed me supernaturally. And so He did that. And so on my third day, I got through my fast like nothing. And mind y'all, I didn't have no food or water. This was my first time ever in life doing this fast. And so when I did this fast, I was seeking God for guidance, because this was around the time I started pretty much coming to realization that God was relocating me to a different state. Okay. So I've never had the desire to move out of state. I never wanted to leave Chicago, let alone Illinois. So when I moved to the suburbs, that was a big step for me. And I was there for about 4 years, okay? But outside of that, I had been on the west side of Chicago all my life. Like, that's all I knew, and I loved it. And so moving out of state was never a thing for me. That's never been a desire for me. I'm a family-oriented type of person. I love my family. I love family gatherings. So just being on this journey alone has been a very hard journey, because I've missed out on a lot of things, like, pertaining to my family. So, okay. I was at this hotel, and so when I first got there, like I said, the week was $199, and then the next week went up to $299, and then the third week went up to $399, and then the fourth week went up to $499, and then after the fourth week, after a month, the taxes fell off, and it was like at market. So I was paying like 5 something, close to 6 something a month for this studio. And so correction, I was paying 5 something a week, so it was about a little over $2,000 a month. I went in and I put down the $199, which it was $200 and some with taxes, and then the rest of the money I kind of brought food or whatever, and I kind of set on the rest of it, or I think I put something towards the second week. So at that point, I asked the people at the front desk, like, hey, I'm not working. I plan to do Instacart And Instacart is like kind of slow right now, but like, can I pay daily? So like the guy was just pretty much like, yeah, sure, you can pay daily. And at this time, they didn't have no manager for this location. So it was just like all discombobulated. So the guy was just like, we don't really have a manager right now, but like, yeah, you could pay daily. That's fine. Whatever, whatever. And so the second week rolled in, and like I started falling behind. So fast forward, when I did the 3-day fast, God had already started kind of like downloaded to me that he wanted me to relocate. And so I thought it was another destination. I'm not going to say where, but I thought it was another state. And so I kept pretty much asking God to confirm it to me if this is where he wanted me to go, and blase, let me know when, how, and then I'll go. So when I was doing the fast, I had prayed. Okay, so when God started downloading to me that he wanted me to relocate, I had all the excuses in the book, okay? So I'm like, first of all, God, right now I ain't got no money to move. 2, where am I moving to? 3, I can't move until my son finished school. So I guess I'll just be relocated in May or June of 2024. So this is what I'm telling God, okay? Now, during my 3-day fast, my balance for my hotel room was close to $500, okay? And so I'm like, Lord, you told me to sit still. You told me not to do nothing. What are we doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, let me rewind. So, as I stated earlier, I was renting an electrical vehicle for over 2 years. So I had an electric Kia. Initially, I had a Tesla for like over a year and a half almost. And then I ended up switching to Tesla, and I got the Kia truck, okay? So I had this Kia truck for about 7 months or something like that. And so at this particular time, I was trying to hold on to the Kia truck, okay? So okay, I'm trying to remember, y'all. So I kept feeling unction to get rid of the rental. But out of pride, I didn't want to let the rental go because I felt like the rental was mine. Because I had had it for so long. I had been used to driving electric cars for so long that I didn't even want to drive my truck no more. I had a very abled working truck, and I didn't even want to drive it because I was just so fixated and spoiled on driving this electric car that I was paying over $2,000 for a month. The Tesla alone was almost $3,000. The electric Kia was like $1,900 a month. Okay, that's not including charging. So out of pride, I had been used to driving it for so long that I didn't even want to let it go. Okay, which it was drilling me in the ground terribly. Okay, but that pride will kill you every time. So, even with that, like, God even gave me grace with that because, like, normally I was paying weekly, okay? And so I started falling behind on the car, and normally they'll come and repossess it, or they'll cut the car off because they could cut it off from the place I was renting from. It wasn't through, like, Hertz and nothing like that. It was like a place that was on the west side of Chicago called Sally's. And they will cut the car off if you don't pay. Because it happened to me before. I actually came and took a trip to Georgia to come to my son's sister's graduation. And I had the money to pay, but I just paid it late. I paid it like a couple hours later, and they turned the car off. And I was all the way in Georgia. And I'm like, and they didn't know they didn't know the rental was in Georgia because I wasn't even supposed to drive it across state lines. But I did. And so anyways, I ended up getting in contact with the payment department manager. So this one particular time I had a little situation going on. And so I ended up getting in contact with her, and we ended up building a relationship. So anytime that I needed an extension on my payment, I would send a text message. So normally the payment was due on Tuesdays. I was all the way up until Friday paying late because of this relationship that I had built with the manager over the payment department. So like anytime I needed an extension, I would text the number and she would call me. And so they was holding out on cut. They wasn't even disabling the car no more, none of that, because of me and this lady over that department relationship that we had built over the phone. And so I had shared with her how I went through eviction and all this other stuff and blase. And so God started nudging it on my heart, like, you need to get rid of that car. And I'm like, Lord, but then what I'm gonna do about my car? So my truck was ably working, but I had some suspension issues that needed to be fixed. And so I didn't want to drive my car anymore and then make it worse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to get like my control arm replaced, because when I would go over a certain speed and brake, it would shake real bad. So I didn't want to drive my car like that, you know what I'm saying, and make it worse, knowing that I didn't have the money to pay for it or whatever. And so I ended up going, so I did the 3-day fast. Let me get back to that. So I did the 3-day fast. And so at this particular time, I had a balance. And so I was not driving because I'm trying to make sure, y'all. Did I have my car yet? Yes, I had my truck. So, okay. So I started telling the lady over the payment department that I was going to return the car. And so she was like, well, you have a balance. And I said, well, I know, but like, you know, I got a lot going on. I'm staying in a hotel right now. I'm really not making no money. And she was just like, well, just let me know when you want to return the car, and then I'll just, you know, put it in your file that you're going to return it. And so one day I had woke up late at night. I'm sorry, I didn't wake up. One day I went out late at night to go charge my vehicle. And so I had like 27% on the battery. And so the app that I was using, you can see if the chargers are full before you get there. So the charging station that was close to me was full. So I had to drive all the way to this place called Oswego, Illinois, to go charge. And so when I went to go charge there, I got there and I couldn't even load money onto the account. I couldn't even tap my card at the actual station. I couldn't charge it, period. So I'm like, Lord, what is going on, right? And so when I tell y'all, I couldn't charge, I couldn't add no money, no type of way. The account had completely disabled, as if I didn't even have an account with Electrify America is the name of it, the charging station company. And so when I drove to that place, I think I had like 15% on the battery. Mind you, it was like 2 in the morning. So I was like, okay, Lord, I get it. So I drove back and I prayed all the way back. And so down the street from the hotel that I was staying at, there were free chargers in a WeatherTech parking lot. So WeatherTech, the company, they had free chargers in a lot where you can, so the free chargers are much slower. You can leave it there overnight, but it'll charge your whole car for free, but it take at least 10 hours to charge it. So God told me to go put it on the charger, and I did. So I went, put on the charger, and I called an Uber back to the hotel. And so when I got back to the hotel, I just said, Lord, I surrender. I surrender the car. And so the next morning, I woke up and I just was like, yeah, y'all can come get the car. And it was like, what's wrong with it? I said, well, I can't afford to pay for it no more. It's on the charger. It'll be on 100% when y'all get it. I took pictures of the insides. Nothing's wrong with the car. Woo, woo, woo. So the lady was just like, well, they're going to charge a repossession fee, even though you're, you know, asking somebody to come get it. And I said, it is what it is. Because I can't drive it back to Chicago because I don't have a ride back here at the moment. And it don't make sense for me to pay for an Uber because that's going to be over $60 for me to get back. And I'm just not willing to pay that. So it is what it is. So the lady was just like, well, I'm going to do what I can on my end to try to keep the repossession from being put on there. The fee, she was like, I'll just say like the car stopped working or something like that. And so don't worry about that. And so she did. She ended up doing what so my balance at that time was like super high, but she had like knocked it down by like, she took like $700 to $800 off of the balance, right? And then I had a deposit sitting on there for $300 from when I initially got the car, and they ended up just taking the $300 and applying it to the balance. And so I just was like, Lord, I give it to you. Like, I'm not finna worry about this car situation. Like, I surrendered the car. And so I ended up calling my son's, the director of my son's school, and I went to pick up my truck out of her garage. And so I drove back to the hotel, and that's when I really was just like at rest. Like, I wasn't doing nothing. Like, every day I was just praying. Okay, so now we back into the fast. So I ended up doing this 3-day fast, and I was like, Lord, I surrendered the car. And I'm completely surrendered to you. Not that I wasn't before, but I surrendered. I was surrendering things, right? So I surrendered my choices and stuff like that initially. Then I was surrendering things. So I surrendered the car. I said, you can have this rental, Lord. I'm trusting your process. You telling me to just rest, that you're going to provide. So that is when I stepped into the Jehovah Jireh realm. Okay. So I did a 3-day fast, and I was pretty much depending on God to pay my balance. So like I stated, my balance at the hotel at this particular time was like close to $500, right? And so again, they did not have a permanent manager at the time. So there was nobody really implementing into effect like the balances and stuff that was on the rooms. Now, when I first got there was a task manager that was there. She was not from Illinois. She was from Ohio, but she was traveling back and forth, and she was pregnant. I remember when I first got to this particular hotel, my ceiling in the bathroom was leaking. And because of that, I had ended up getting like a week free. So when I first got there, I ended up paying up front the $199. And then my second week, I had an issue with the ceiling in the bathroom leaking, and I was on the 4th floor. They didn't have a room for me to be switched to at that time, and for the inconvenience, they credited me money towards my room. So God was providing even in that. It was such a minor thing. Like, it wasn't like a huge leak. It was like little itty bitty drops of water. But because of that, they gave me credit towards my room, and I had free nights, right? So God was providing even with that small, minor mishap, right? So then fast forward, that lady left, and they didn't have a manager again. They didn't have a task manager to cover until a permanent manager was pretty much set for that location. So boom, I did the 3-day fast. Okay. God started downloading to me that he wanted me to relocate. I had all these reasons why I shouldn't. And then I stated, Lord, well, I guess I'm going to wait till Quanzel, my son, finishes school, and then I'll move in June, wherever you want me to go. So boom, I finished my 3-day fast. This was literally during Christmas break. Christmas break was about to begin. So this was like December 21st or something like that. Last day of school. His teacher calls and says, hey, I need you to come and do a parent-teacher conference before, we go on break. And I'm like, what? Like, can we just do that when we come back from break? Like, what's so important about this conference that I need to come the day before school lets out, right? And so she was like, no, I really need you to come. I need to talk to you. So I ended up going up to the school. Mind you, this is the complex that I was living in. The school was literally on the premises, okay? It was a Montessori school, a private school. And so the lady who I was helping her at her restaurant, I walked past, said, hey girl, whatever, went upstairs up to the school. And so my son was in the gym room, because it was a gym room also on the premises of the complex. He was in the gym room with this coach that was like kind of like starting a basketball team for the kids in the community. He kind of went down there while I was upstairs talking to his teacher. And so she just came out like, yeah, I don't think that I can't teach your son. And I'm like, what? So I'm looking like, what are you talking about, Miss Sherry? Right? And she was just like, I just don't think that I can accommodate your son because he's so intelligent and I just feel like he needs more. And this school, with it being so small, I don't have the staff to really, accommodate all of the kids. And like my son, she was saying he's so intelligent that at times it's hard to cater to him with the level of work that she was using or whatever the case may be. And so I'm sitting there looking at her and I'm like, so what are you saying? And she was like, so I think it's best that, after winter break that he goes to a different school. Maybe you put him back in a public school in the area, but I can't, moving forward, I won't be able to accommodate him. Now, mind you, my son had been in this school for pretty much 2 years. So it's not like he was already in the school for a couple of years. And so after she said that, she then proceeded. Now, mind you, my balance was 400 and something. This was day 4. So I went on the 3-day fast. This was the 4th day. On the 4th day, I'm like, Lord, my balance is still almost in the 500s. Where's this supernatural money that you go give me? Because I did the fast in faith that he was going to provide and other things, right? And to reveal things to me as far as if he wanted me to actually relocate for real, because I was still struggling with that. So she pretty much told me my son could not come back. So that took away, God literally closed the door. I prayed and asked him to close the door. He closed the door. Immediately, like quickly, within like less than a week, right? So he closed that door, so I had no excuses. My son wasn't in school no more. I had to go through find another school for him to go to come January 2024. So it would have been him starting over anyway, right? And so after she pretty much told me that she didn't think that she can cater to him and that she encouraged me to put him in a different school, she then proceeded to say, do you mind if I give you some money? So I looked at her like, huh? She's like, do you mind if I give you some money for your hotel? Because she knew I was staying in a hotel at this particular time. And she was like, so I was paying for school. Like my baby's tuition was $334. So it's like $340 a month I was paying. So when I started going through this homeless process or this me losing my place, she even worked with me and then it was just like, don't worry about paying the tuition, I'll cover it. So that was one thing. So this was back in August actually when the eviction situation first started happening. And so now we're in December. And so she knew I was in a hotel after she knew I was staying with the lady, the friend that made the lunches for the school, because we was all in the same community. She knew that I stayed with her. That she knew she was aware when I moved into the hotel. And so she was just like, I don't know, can I just give you $450? I can go to the bank right now and go get it. My son's teacher / the director of the school went to the bank and got $450, came back and gave it to me in my hand and told me to pay. She said, maybe you can pay it towards pay on the room and just put the rest in your pocket or something like that. I just want to make sure you guys are okay. And I was sitting there like, Lord. Mind you, a cousin of mine's earlier that day ended up sending me $222. And that was just like a laugh within itself, because I had been explaining to her how God had been downloading that number to me. Like I have been seeing 222 everywhere. And this is not angel numbers, y'all. This is biblically strong concordance numbers. And even if it ain't relating to a meaning, God will use anything to get your attention. Okay, there are scriptures that ties to these numbers. So, yes. So I had got $222 from my cousin earlier. And then my son's teacher had gave me $450. And then I had got some money from somewhere else. Like some money just came from somewhere. And so, I was able to, so my phone bill was due. And at that time, my phone bill was like 500 some dollars. So I was able to use the 700 some odd dollars that I had came up on supernaturally through people that God blessed me through to pay my phone bill. And I was able to put money towards the balance. I only paid like a day or two. Y'all, let me tell y'all something about God. So I paid like a day or two, so my balance went down to like the high threes, right? Now, boom, Christmas passes. Mind you, there is still not a manager at this hotel. Now, I talked to the guy who was kind of playing manager until somebody came. His name was, what was his name? God, I lost it. I can't think of it right now. But he told me that there was a task manager coming after Christmas, and that she was going to be running the hotel until they found a permanent manager. Now, a task manager is just a traveling manager that goes back and forth to different hotels to fill for the missing management until management is filled, right? So, boom. Some days after Christmas, right before New Year's, I go to the front desk. This is the day that the task force manager came. And so my plan was to go up to the front desk and talk to her or them, because I didn't know if it was a girl or a guy, about pretty much working out an arrangement to pay my balance. So I was willing, out of humility, to clean the hotel for them in replacement to pay for the balance. So I was just like, I don't even want to work here for real. If I could just like work my debt down and keep working to like just at least cover the room, that's all I'm asking, because my truck is not in a condition to be driving Uber. Like, I didn't want to be driving with that control arm issue and then somebody report my account. I didn't want to risk that. So I just was like, I really can't drive my car right now. And it was snowing outside. You know, it wasn't really safe to drive in far distances. So I go to the front desk and I said, hey, is the manager here? So now the person that was standing at the front, they moved to the side. And she was like, hey, how you doing? I said, hey. She's like, where you from? And I'm like, I'm from the west side of Chicago. Why, where you from? She's like, girl, I'm from Oklahoma. And I said, girl, you asked me where I'm from, like you from here. Like, you know what I'm saying? She, no, because you sound country. I said, nah, baby, I ain't never lived in the South a day in my life. I'm born and raised right here in Chicago. So she was like, girl, she's like, I would have thought you was from down south. Woo, woo, woo. So I was like, I don't know. I feel like God trying to relocate me. And out of nowhere, she said, girl, you should move to Georgia. And I looked at her and said, girl, I would never move to Georgia. And she's like, why not? And so I explained to her, I shared a story with her about how in 2022, y'all kid y'all not, God is so intentional, and it's very imperative that we lean on him for every understanding, because God's ways are not our ways. And what makes sense to us, or what makes sense to God, may not necessarily make sense to us, because we are thinking from a carnal mindset. We're not, we don't see what's ahead. Only God does. So in 2022, okay, when I came down here for my my son's sister's graduation, I got a ticket, a speeding ticket on the expressway. I was coming from seeing my little boo thing across the border of Georgia. Okay, I was coming from South Carolina over to Georgia. Okay, and when I crossed the line, I ended up getting pulled over because I was doing 30 over the speed limit, DUI speed. Okay, so it was 70. I was doing 99 on the highway, but it was 6 a.m, child. I was just trying to get back to the room to my son, because my baby daddy was at the room with my baby at that time. And so he didn't even know I was in South Carolina. He thought I was with his daughter, but I really had snuck off to go see my little boo thing, because I knew if I would have told him where I was going, he wouldn't have babysat. He would have been on some hating stuff. But that's neither here nor there. So I ended up getting a ticket. And so I never in my life have gotten a moving violation ever, not even in Illinois, ever in life. And I have a CDL, so I take my license very, very serious. Although I speed, I was a smart speeder. I always watch my surroundings. But I got, okay, because I was trying to find my Apple Watch while I was driving on the highway. It was saying that it was on the, I don't know. Long story short, I got caught slipping, and the police was sitting in the cut, and they caught me. And so I fought that ticket for a whole year. I was coming back and forth to Georgia for a whole year. I paid for a lawyer and everything. And so they have this law called NOLO law. And so I kept feeling it in my spirit. And I heard God like clearly telling me to plead NOLO. But they kept saying that NOLO law was only a Georgia law, and they didn't have that in Illinois. So even if I would have pleaded here, NOLO, I would have still had the ticket show up in Illinois. So I was like, what sense do it make to plead NOLO if it's still going to show up here? So I went the extra mile to pay for a lawyer, thinking that that was going to get the ticket thrown out, okay? Because my license was clear. I even printed out a record I printed out my driver record and brought it to my last court date, my trial. And I was just like, my record is clean. I've never had any moving violations I've had my license since I was 17. Over almost 18 years. No tickets. And so Georgia didn't care. I had a CDL in the particular county that I was in. They was racist as heck, and they stood 10 toes down on any violations towards CDL drivers. We are held at a higher accountability because we drive for a living with our licenses. So they did not, more of the story, throw it out. It stuck. Only thing they did was limit the speed limit, and they didn't give me points on my license. But I kept hearing God clear as day say, plead NOLO. And all I kept saying was, why would I do that, Lord? And I don't even live here. What sense do it make to plead NOLO for it to benefit in Georgia, but not Illinois? I don't even live here. And so I did it. And now that I'm in Georgia and I live here, I know now why God was putting it on my heart to plead this NOLO, because I was going to be a resident here and no longer in Illinois. So God has a funny way of doing things and confirming things. But back to the story. The girl was just like, you should move to Georgia. And I'm like, girl, please. I'm like, I ain't moving to no Georgia. I said, man, I got a ticket in Georgia, and I don't even got tickets in Illinois. So I'm just all this, just, I would never move to Georgia. Like, they too strict with driving and da-da-da-da. If I would have been in Illinois, they would have just gave me a warning because my license was clean. But, being out of state, it's a lot of people that ain't got hit with out of state tickets because that's just how they make their money. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was the first time. No, I'm lying. That wasn't the first time. So, one of my son's barbers, one of his old barbers, ended up following me on TikTok, okay? And so when I seen the follow, I'm like, oh, I remember him. And so he relocated to Atlanta, okay? And I seen this earlier last year. Like, I seen this probably like March of 2023. He had relocated to Georgia. And I'm like, dang, what made you move there? Whoa. So we talking through the messenger on TikTok, and he telling me what and why. And then he was like, you should come visit. I said, man, I visit Georgia a lot. I don't like Georgia though. I hate they drivers, and I told him about the ticket that I got. And so this was again earlier in the year last year. This was like March, April-ish. We was messaging each other. The day that I was moving out of my place, y'all, October 22nd of 2023, he sent me a message out of nowhere. Mind you, I had not said nothing to him since April. He messaged me on TikTok out of nowhere and said, when you coming to Georgia? And I'm like, boy, I already told you I don't like Georgia. I don't know. I said, I ain't got no, festivities going on down there, so no time soon. And he was like, oh, okay. And it was just that. But God, even then, like, God brought that to my remembrance, that he literally put it in my path the day I moved. The day I was moving out of my place, the day I was breaking down in the middle of the living room, like, Lord, why is this happening to me? Literally, as I was packing up the last of my stuff and taking it out to put it into my U-Haul, this message came through my TikTok of my son's old barber asking me, when you come to Georgia. Out of nowhere, out of the blue. And so this video is going to have to be in parts, y'all, because it is a lot that is connected to this video. So let me go back. So when I met the task force manager at the hotel that I was staying at, she got up, came to the computer. I offered to work for the hotel. She told me flat out, yeah, we can't do that. You know, we have a rule to where residents cannot be workers. We did that in the past and some problems was had, so we don't do that any longer. She was like, but I wish I could hire you here. I don't know. Maybe maybe we could. We need people. We need people bad. She was like, but with you being a resident, like they're gonna be pretty lenient on not allowing you to work here. And so, or pretty firm on not allowing you to work here. And so she looked in the computer at my balance, y'all. Now, mind y'all, I had just did a 3-day fast. Okay. On the 4th day, my son's teacher had blessed me with $450. A cousin blessed me with $222. And then I had some other money come from somewhere. I can't even tell you where. I can't remember right now. But just know I had well over $700, close to $800 out of money that was provided supernaturally through God, through people. Okay. And this lady went into the computer. Her name was Nicole. And we still in contact. We don't talk daily, but I have her contact information. And God used her in a mighty way during my journey. That lady went in the computer as we was talking. I didn't know her for 5 minutes. She came up to the computer after I asked her about ways of settling my balance and can I work to clean. She went in the computer, y'all, and she said, you got a zero balance. And I'm going to try not to cry because that money that God had those people bless me with, I didn't even need to use it. Because he put it on this lady's heart, this manager's heart, to clear my balance. With the power that she had, she wiped the whole balance clean. Clean. And when she did that, I just started crying. And I said, why did you do that? And she said, it was her daughter's, I don't want to quote it wrong, but she was telling me about her daughter that passed away. And she said she was just in the pits that day. She didn't even want to come because she was staying on the premises. She was staying at the hotel. She was only on call or on assignment for 3 weeks, but she was staying at the hotel. And she was on the 3rd or the 4th floor, I want to say. But she said she didn't even want to come down to the front desk that morning because she just was in the pits because she was going through it. She was reminiscing about her deceased daughter, her oldest daughter. And she said, but God pushed her to come down anyway. And she said she knows now why. And it was so that she could be a blessing to me. And so God is so intentional. God is so good. God is a provider for sure. I have seen God do some miraculous things since I've been on this journey. And there's no one that can tell me otherwise. So I don't really have no scriptures written down because, like I said, I didn't prepare this, but I would just say that scripture, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. That's a real thing, y'all. All your needs will be met. We have wants that we have at heart, and God will grant those too. But he will give you all that you need and more. You will never have to seek a need being in the will of God. This whole journey, bro, He has carried me through even up until this point. Like, I can't wait to even share my current state. Is a blessing within itself, y'all. Like, when I tell y'all God will place you in a place of rest and give you a peace that surpasses all understanding in the most hardest times. What you believe is hard, but you have to trust the process. God makes no mistakes, and everything that seems bad for you is for your good. It turns around for your good. You will see the manifestation of whatever promise gave you, whatever promise God gave you, you will see it come to pass, because it's in his word. He doesn't lie. He's not a liar. It may not feel good when you're going through it, when you're going through your wilderness, but there's a promise on the other side of it. There's a promised land on the other side of it, and you just have to trust God that he will do exactly what he told you he would do. It may not be in your timing. You may get weary, but he will do what he said he will do. He is not a man that he shall lie. So, y'all, I have to wrap this up because I have to go pick my son up from aftercare. But this is part one of how God revealed to me that he wanted me to relocate to Georgia. Part one. So I will come back with the part two video. Again, today makes a year when I started this journey, a year when I surrendered everything to him, a year, well, really November, but a year when this whole wilderness season started. Today marks the year, October 22nd of 2023 is when it all began. And I'm forever grateful for it. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, but God is really placing a humbleness over me that I thought I would never, ever be able to get to. So, y'all stay tuned. It's going to be multiple parts to this because it gets lengthy. But it's so much that I have to share, so much that I've been sitting on, and I know that it's going to bless somebody. So just trust God, y'all. Even when it seems hard, even when you can't see the outcome, you just have to trust him. Just like our children trust us to feed them, to clothe them, to protect them. They don't have a care in the world. They don't worry about if mommy's going to do what she said or if daddy. Our kids are totally incognito and ignorant to the world when it comes to being a child. They don't worry about those things because they know that my son don't worry about anything because he know I'm going to take care of him. That's how God wants us to be with him. And I have experienced it. And it is the greatest feeling in the world, y'all. So I will see y'all in the next video. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I will try to post more fluently, more often, because I know that it's a lot of people out here who needs encouragement, who needs uplifting. Like, we need to really do better as a body with just sharing our testimonies and being of encouragement to people, because it's a lot of people out here who just really don't know God, or who shies away from God because of the examples that they received in life. And so that's why God places us here as, and whatever calling or gift that he has gifted you with. We just got to be obedient and walk in there, because you never know, that other person couldn't persuade this individual, but you can. So you never know the influence that you have on a person until you open your mouth. So y'all be blessed. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.